Was Alexander the Great truly the greatest general in history? It's a bold claim, but his record is almost unbelievable. In just over a decade, this young Macedonian king forged one of the largest empires the ancient world had ever seen, stretching from Greece all the way to India. And the most astonishing part, he was never, ever defeated in a major battle. So, how did he do it? What was his secret? Today, we're diving deep into the life and legacy of Alexander the Great to understand the man behind the myth. Was it sheer tactical genius, unwavering charisma, or just plain luck? Let's find out. Our story begins in 356 BC in Pella, the capital of Macedon. Alexander was born to King Philip II and Queen Olympias. From a young age, it was clear he was no ordinary prince. His father, Philip, was a brilliant military reformer who had transformed the Macedonian army into the most formidable fighting force of its time. He introduced the sarissa, a super-long pike that gave his infantry phalanxes an unbeatable advantage. Alexander grew up watching his father conquer and unite the fractured Greek city-states, learning the art of war from a master. But it wasn't just military training that shaped him. His mother, Olympias, a fiery and ambitious woman, told him he was descended from heroes like Achilles. And for his formal education, Philip hired the best tutor imaginable, the great philosopher Aristotle. For 3 years, Aristotle taught Alexander everything from philosophy and politics to medicine and botany. This unique combination of a warrior's upbringing and a scholar's education created a leader who was as brilliant on the battlefield as he was intellectually curious about the world he was conquering. In 336 BC, tragedy struck. King Philip II was assassinated, and at just 20 years old, Alexander ascended to the throne. Many of the Greek states Philip had subdued saw this as their chance to rebel. They thought this young, untested king would be easy to overthrow. They were dead wrong. Alexander moved with lightning speed, crushing rebellions in Thebes and securing his control over Greece. With his home base secure, he turned his sights to his father's ultimate, unfulfilled dream, the invasion of the mighty Persian Empire. In 334 BC, Alexander crossed the Hellespont into Asia with an army of around 40,000 men. It was a huge gamble. The Persian Empire, ruled by King Darius III, was a superpower, with vast territories, immense wealth, and a seemingly endless supply of soldiers. On paper, Alexander was hopelessly outmatched. His first major test came at the Granicus River. The Persians had set up a strong defensive position on the opposite bank. Any conventional general would have hesitated, but not Alexander. He led a daring, almost reckless cavalry charge straight across the river and into the enemy lines. His personal bravery was electrifying. He was right in the thick of the fighting, his helmet gleaming, a clear target for the enemy. This leading from the front style became his trademark. It inspired incredible loyalty and courage in his men. They would follow him anywhere because he was right there with them, sharing the same dangers. The Macedonians shattered the Persian lines, and Alexander won a decisive victory. This set the stage for the legendary Battle of Issus. Darius III, humiliated by the defeat at Granicus, gathered a massive army to crush Alexander personally. The two forces met on a narrow coastal plain, which actually worked to Alexander's advantage. It prevented the Persians from using their superior numbers to surround him. The battle plan was classic Alexander. He identified a weak point in the Persian line, right near Darius himself. While his phalanx held the center, Alexander led his elite companion cavalry in a decisive charge, aiming straight for the Persian king. The sight of Alexander Oprodorus charging towards him was too much for Darius. He panicked, turned his chariot, and fled the battlefield. Seeing their king run, the Persian army dissolved into chaos. Alexander had won again, and he even captured Darius's family, whom he treated with respect, a move that enhanced his reputation. But Alexander wasn't just a brute conqueror. He was a master of siegecraft. The city of Tyre, a Phoenician stronghold on an island, thought it was impregnable. They refused to surrender. So, what did Alexander do? He ordered his engineers to build a massive causeway, a land bridge, all the way out to the island. It took 7 months of relentless work, under constant attack from the Tyrian navy, but they did it. His army marched across the newly made land and took the city. This feat was so audacious, so unbelievable, that it cemented his legend as someone who could command not just men, but nature itself. After securing the Mediterranean coast, he marched into Egypt. The Egyptians, who had been ruled by the Persians, welcomed him as a liberator. They declared him a pharaoh and a son of the god. Amen. It was here that he founded the first and most famous of many cities he would name after himself, Alexandria. This wasn't just an ego trip, it was a strategic move. These cities became centers of Greek culture, trade, and learning, spreading Hellenistic influence throughout his growing empire. The final showdown with Darius came in 331 BC, at the Battle of Gaugamela. This was it. Darius had learned from his past mistakes. He chose a wide, flat plain to maximize his numerical advantage and his feared scythed chariots. He had reportedly gathered an army of 250,000 men, though modern estimates are a bit lower. It was a sea of soldiers, meant to intimidate and overwhelm the small Macedonian force. Alexander's generals were nervous. One of them, Parmenion, suggested a night attack. Alexander's famous reply, "I will not steal my victory." He wanted to beat the Persians' Phaedrus at their best, in broad daylight, to prove his superiority beyond any doubt. His battle plan for Gaugamela is still studied in military academies today. It was a masterpiece of tactics and deception. He advanced with his right wing angled forward, drawing the Persian cavalry out to the flank. This created a gap in the Persian center, right next to Darius, and just like at Issus, Alexander seized the moment, leading his companion cavalry in a thunderous charge straight through that gap, heading directly for Darius. Once again, Darius fled, and once again, the Persian army crumbled without its leader. The battle was a total, crushing victory for Alexander. The Persian Empire was effectively his. After Gaugamela, Alexander marched triumphantly into Babylon and Susa, acclaiming the vast treasures of the Persian kings. But he didn't stop. His ambition and curiosity were limitless. He pushed eastward, deeper into Central Asia, founding more cities and fighting grueling campaigns against fierce local tribes. His final great campaign took him to India. At the Battle of the Hydaspes River, he faced King Porus and his army of war elephants, a terrifying new weapon his soldiers had never encountered. The elephants caused havoc, but Alexander's tactical flexibility won the day. He adapted, outmaneuvered Porus, and secured another victory. He was so impressed with Porus's bravery that he allowed him to keep his kingdom, making him an ally. But this was the end of the road. His men, exhausted after 8 years of constant marching and fighting, thousands of miles from home, had finally had enough. At the Hyphasis River, they mutinied. They refused to go any further east. Alexander, heartbroken, was forced to turn back. The journey home was just as perilous as the conquests. He split his forces, leading one group through the brutal Gedrosian desert, a disastrous march that cost thousands of lives. Finally, in 324 BC, he returned to Babylon, the new capital of his vast, multicultural empire. He began making plans for the future, administrative reforms, new explorations into Arabia, and a grand project to merge Macedonian and Persian cultures. He encouraged his soldiers to marry Persian women, and he himself took 2 Persian wives. He was trying to create a new, blended ruling class for his Hellenistic empire. In June of 323 BC, after a prolonged banquet and drinking party, Alexander fell gravely ill with a fever. 12 days later, he was dead, at the age of just 32. The cause of his death remains one of history's great mysteries. Was it malaria, typhoid, or poison? We'll likely never know for sure. On his deathbed, when asked who his empire should go to, he allegedly whispered, "To the strongest." His generals, the Diadochi, immediately began fighting over the spoils. His massive, undefeated empire, built on the singular genius of one man, fractured into several Hellenistic kingdoms. So, we return to our original question: was Alexander the Great the greatest general in history? His tactical brilliance is undeniable. He was a master of combined arms, using his cavalry, infantry, and siege engines in perfect coordination. His personal courage and charisma were legendary, inspiring a devotion in his troops that few leaders have ever matched, and his results speak for themselves. An undefeated record and an empire that spanned 3 continents. While his empire didn't survive him, his legacy did. He shattered the old world order and ushered in the Hellenistic age, a period where Greek language, culture, and ideas spread and blended with local traditions, shaping the course of Western and Middle Eastern civilization for centuries to come. His life is a testament to the power of human ambition, genius, and a relentless will to win. The boy from Macedon who set out to conquer the world, and for a brief, glorious moment, actually did. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the life of Alexander the Great, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history's most fascinating figures. See you in the next one.